Well, howdy everyone, and today I'm looking at an optical device that's as interesting as it is unique, the Venus Optics Laowa Magic Shift Converter. It costs about $300 and it comes in two types, a Canon EF to Sony E-mount version and a Nikon F to Sony E-mount version, which is coming soon. This special converter is designed to work with mirrorless cameras only, and at the moment it's only available on Sony E-mount, full frame or APS-C. As a converter on its own, it doesn't do anything. It's primarily designed to work along with the Laowa 12mm f2.8 lens, which is an extreme wide-angle lens for full-frame digital SLR cameras. That 12mm f2.8 is a really excellent base lens, sharp and with low distortion, as anyone who's seen my review will know. You can mount it onto a mirrorless camera as it is with a simple E-mount adapter if you like, and it will work really well as a 12mm f2.8 lens. However, if you use the Magic Shift converter instead of a normal adapter, then something magical happens. It turns that 12mm lens into a 17mm f4 lens with shift capability up to 10mm. What that means is that you can shift the lens via a special adjustment ring which you can tighten to correct your perspective when you're shooting at an angle. As you can see here, the pictures on the left are uncorrected images facing up or down, and the images on the right have been shifted by the lens to straighten lines and to correct perspective. Neat. What an interesting idea. It cuts into the picture a little bit when you do shift the lens, so you might want to take a step back or two. So it's a potentially attractive possibility for owners of Sony's mirrorless cameras, full frame or APS-C. For example, if you bought the Laowa 12mm f2.8 lens, a basic E-mount adapter and the Magic Shift converter, then for your money, you could have a 12mm f2.8 lens and a 17mm f4 shift lens all together in your camera bag, making you ready for just about any wide-angle possibility. Now, the converter itself is solid and a little heavy, weighing about 350 grams, and some of that weight is coming from the 5 optical elements inside it, so the design is quite complex. It goes in between your camera and your lens, fitting very solidly. The adjustment ring on a converter, which you can tighten, makes it easy to adjust your level of shift. There's also a push button at the top which lets you turn the whole adapter around 360 degrees. If you want to shift up and down though, which most people will be doing for architecture photography, then your focus ring information on the main lens will be on the side. Using the converter will make your camera setup slightly unwieldy, but it is at least very solid. Now, Venus Optics have loaned me this converter and a copy of their 12mm f2.8 lens because they wanted to demonstrate that the converter has a minimal effect on the lens's image quality. Well, we'll be the judge of that. So I'm going to really challenge it by testing on a Sony A7Rii II camera with its very demanding 42 megapixel full frame sensor. Firstly, I'm going to look at the image quality of the base lens, the 12mm f2.8, when used on the Sony mirrorless camera with just a simple adapter, so no magic converter yet. In the middle of the image, at f2.8, the 12mm base lens is fantastically sharp, with good contrast. The corners of the image are not quite as biting, and there's a little chromatic aberration, but they're still very good, and at f4 and at f5.6, the image quality there becomes excellent. So that's the base lens. Now let's see the image quality with a 12mm lens and the Magic Shift converter without shifting the image. So we're dealing with a straight 17mm f4 image here. In the middle of the image at f4, even with a Magic Shift converter, the sharpness remains excellent. And over in the corners? Well, I'm impressed. The image corners look fantastic. The optics of the Magic Shift converter seem to actually be improving the image quality of the base lens, as you can see when we compare them side by side, with better sharpness and reduced chromatic aberration. I wasn't expecting that. Stop down a bit to f5.6 or f8 for perfect image quality there. Well, isn't that something? And now, the final challenge. We're going to see what image quality looks like when the magic shift converter is fully shifted up in this case. With the lens shifted and at f4, in the middle of the image we can still see very good sharpness, but there's a small reduction in contrast and a little colour fringing is visible. In the corner of the image that's most stretched by the shifting, we still see very good sharpness, although the image is a little dark, as you might expect after a shift. If you look in a corner that's been least stretched, we can see a lot more brightness and contrast and still good sharpness. If you stop down a bit to f5.6, we see a very small improvement in the least stretched corner and nicer image quality in the most stretched corner. However, if you stop down to f8, we see a big jump in image quality. We see great sharpness across the image frame now. That great sharpness continues at f11 and f16. Well, that was interesting. Well, I think so anyway. When the magic shift converter is used and not shifted, it offers fantastically good image quality, even better than the 12mm base lens. When you do shift the converter fully up or down, then there's a little degradation in quality, but even on a 42 megapixel camera, it's performing impressively well. And if you stop down to f8, then even fully shifted, the image quality is fantastic. I think we can probably call this unique piece of equipment a success. Now, one more thing I want to consider is distortion and vignetting. The original 12mm f2.8 lens, when used with a simple adapter instead of the magic converter, projects almost no distortion at all, even on a full frame camera, but there is some heavy vignetting at f2.8. Now, when you use the magic shift converter and don't shift the lens, then we still see almost no distortion. Vignetting at f4 is not strong, and stop down to f5.6 for it to largely go away. And finally, let's shift the lens all the way up. Now, distortion remains almost non-existent. However, some vignetting at the top, the most stretched end, is introduced at f4. You can see that the top of the image looks a little darker here. Stop down to f5.6 or further to see that vignetting reduced. So there are no nasty surprises there. So there you go. That's the Laowa Magic Shift Converter. A very interesting option for anyone who owns a Sony mirrorless camera and the Laowa 12mm lens.